Adit, welcome to the show, man. I can't wait to get into it. How you doing?
Great, man. How about yourself? I'm glad we got to connect.
Well, we connected actually quite a while ago, a few years back at Flip Hacking Live, right? And
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, and we're in uh, a couple different circles, military for military and millionaire, and uh, so we are in some military and real estate networking circles. But for our audience, um, will you give us a little bit of background? Well, what are the events and influences that created the Adit Shah of today?
Oh, yeah, definitely, Aaron. Appreciate that, man. So I served in the Navy for 6 years as a bosun mate, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's kind of like the shittiest job in the Navy. And I got out of the Navy, no degree, no skills, no plan really, but I had did one thing right. I used my VA loan while I was still active duty to buy a condo, and I started house hacking. And basically, my roommate was paying for most of my mortgage, and I was like, "Wow, this real estate thing is super interesting. I want to know more about it." So I discovered Bigger Pockets, and just started listening to the podcast, getting her into local meetups, like everyone else gets started. But the difference between me and everyone else was like everyone's like, "Oh, I want to get started in real estate, like wholesaling, buying rentals." Like I had the audacity to believe that I wanted to be a real estate developer, like build like skyscrapers and shit like that. So what I did was I got on Bigger Pockets and I messaged every single like person who looked like they were developing or syndicating in San Diego. That's where I was at the time, and basically said, "Hey, I just got out of the Navy. I don't really have any skills, but I can fix things and I can work hard without reward for a long time. I would love to come work for you for free in exchange to just get exposure to real estate." So everyone said no. I think I sent out probably well over 100 messages to 100 different people: flippers, wholesalers, developers, mostly developers and syndicators. But one guy eventually said yes after I harassed him a bunch of times. I ended up working for him for free for a year, and then I ended up being a paid employee of his for 2 more years as a project manager and property manager. So I took management of his properties and his projects, and in that process as well, I started doing my own projects, my own development projects. From there, I kind of took a sidetrack into private equity, co-founded a hotel syndication company, and then now it kind of simultaneously founded Housebender, which is an infill development company, multifamily development in San Diego. So that's kind of my two flavors: is infill development, new construction multifamily, and also private equity for hotel syndications.
So you kind of a jack of all trades there. You kind of did a bit of a sampling of all sorts of real estate. When did you get started then? Okay. So about 4 years now, you've been doing flips, got into syndication development, so ground up builds.
Yep, that's correct. New construction.
All right. And I do know back in, it was about 2021 when you were on from Military to Millionaire, you and Dave talked about doing this housing infill where you were doing small multifamily. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of been a bulk of my focus lately.
Okay. But you're also focused on hotels. Tell me about that.
Yeah, totally. So what happened was in 2021, right around the time we met, actually, Aaron,
Yeah.
I had liquidated all the properties that I had at the time in San Diego, and I came into a little bit of cash, a bankroll, and I met fellow War Room member Octavio Moda, and he actually had his own. He had a bit of cash at the same time. Similar story. Interest rates were high. Good time to sell. He was getting out of his single family portfolio. And what we did was we started at the time making offers on multifamily mobile home parks, trying to basically do the typical real estate story. Hey, we're starting with single family homes, small multifamily, snowballing that into bigger stuff. And what we found was in those days, 2021, we were competing with a lot of idiots who were overpaying. So like our maximum offer was this, and people were paying absurd amounts because they were doing something called a variable rate, where the rate was lower initially, and now they're all getting spanked, as we know, because the rates went up. But we couldn't compete with those people because we have conservative investment principles. My investment principles tend to lean more on the conservative side and more on the forced value add side. So we've met this guy named Danny Fry. He's our partner, and we co-founded a private equity company for hotels. So why hotels? Because basically still today, even, we started that company in early 2022, and we're going on a year and a half now, but still today, it's very true that hotels are basically like buying single family homes in 2012 at the bottom, right? So COVID caused a premature bottom for hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, there was a massive buying opportunity. A lot of mom and pop owners got washed. But as we saw, the economy came back after COVID, and people started traveling again, and hotel revenue started going up and up and up and up. But a lot of these hotel owners, mom and pop style owner, imagine like it's just mom and dad and the kids living in the manager's suite and running the hotel. They unfortunately could not sustain that COVID storm. But for people like us, we were able to go scoop up those hotels at very, very favorable prices and then manage them correctly and then bring them back to life.
Yeah, I do know that during the old COVID lockdown era, hotels, restaurants, they all took a big hit. That's when Airbnbs really skyrocketed. But you kind of, in fact, I think, is it true that you're still in San Diego, right?
So I'm actually in Medellin, Colombia now. I've been here about a year, but I go back to San Diego monthly. So I got like 2 home bases.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just reminded that I think it was in San Diego that just recently enforced a kind of an anti-Airbnb law limiting how many single families and small residentials could be short-term rentals.
Absolutely, Aaron, you nailed it. And that's what's getting scary about a lot of things in Airbnb and the Airbnb space is that, let's just think about it very frankly. You look at the hotel world and the Airbnb world. This is very sad, but true. The hotel world is a lot of deep pockets, a lot of private equity, a lot of long-standing capital, right? And then you have against them Airbnb, which is given the opportunity to the normal person to turn their home or apartment into an asset. But who has deeper pockets, right? And what's happened is hotels have really gone in there and lobbied to the government and banned Airbnb in some places. And outside of that, there's also an argument to be made that Airbnb kind of restricts housing in places like San Diego, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how much I buy into that crap, but the truth is that hotels have a bigger influence over the government and they're a bit longer standing. And when you talk about hospitality, and they're a little bit more governed, right? And they're a little bit more well established versus Airbnb. So that's why we're seeing that Airbnb in a lot of markets is getting shut down by governments, and hotels are picking up all of that business that the Airbnb is leaving behind.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at. You're taking a residential, or at least a property meant for our residential use, and converting it into a business. And some municipalities, neighborhoods, communities, they don't really take out very kindly to that. Especially say in HOA neighborhoods. But you're taking commercial buildings that are already intended for that purpose, so you don't have that kind of problem. You reminded me when you said you were talking about your history with the bosun's mate. I was on. I was the cook for a 3-star admiral on the flagship in Italy, and one of my best buddies on board the ship was the ship's company, the bosun's mate in charge of the hazmat locker. And I don't know how that happened, except he was kind of a big boy and really loved food. I just remember cramming into the hazmat locker office, which is kind of like the size of a phone booth, to eat leftover porterhouses, ribeyes, and espressos over watching The Shield on one of those little traveling portable DVD players. But it's a pretty quick trajectory you've got from jumping into real estate by becoming essentially an apprentice to property manager and a fix-it guy, handyman, and to what you're doing now, syndications, flips, multifamily, and in hotels. What do you attribute the your growth? How do you explain your level of success?
I really appreciate that, Aaron. First of all, thanks, man, for the kind words. But yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, it's crazy just to think about. Just 4 years ago, I was, on my hands and knees scrubbing toilets, moving toilets or tenants in. Actually, as soon as 2 years ago, I was doing that. And I think one thing that really assisted me in this whole process was always trying to figure out how can I do it instead of can I do it. Like, can I do it was never a question. Yes, I can. I mean, anyone can do anything. You are a living testament of that, Aaron. But it's not can I do it? Yes, and yes you can. It's how can I do it? It's figuring out. People say that rule number one of entrepreneurship is working with what you have and not worrying about what you don't have. So let me take a look at what do I have and how can I make the most out of what I have and leverage that into something bigger. And in my case, it was leveraging what I had, which was literally some tools and the ability to fix just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
To leverage a developer's 10 years experience in business, get exposure to that, and then go do it on. So that's kind of I guess that attitude of how can I do it instead of can I do it or can't I do it is what really, really, really helped me through my journey.
I like to say that nobody told me I wasn't supposed to do that. So I just went after it. And it's true. I mean, we tend to limit ourselves by our past experience, and we have this limited framework for what's already possible, and on that same path, how much progress we can make. But the truth is, if you set your sights a little bit higher, a lot higher, you can accomplish quite a bit, especially when you partner with the right people. So tell me, what kind of projects have we got going on right now? What are you working on?
Sure. So right now, we have 4 hotels in Tempest 22, which is the private equity syndication company. 1 active raise. So we got about 800, 900 grand left to raise there. We've raised a total of $3.5 million so far across the 4 hotels. And then I have 2 infill projects going on in San Diego. One of them is a duplex that I'm taking to 4 units, and the other one is a triplex that I'm taking to 5 units. So that's kind of everything that I have going on right now.
Do you think you're splitting your efforts or your bandwidth by doing these 2 different methodologies, or do they work in parallel in unison?
So what I will say is that there is no question that if you give 100% of your focus to one thing, it will be exceptionally better than you doing multiple things at once, right? But in my case, it's kind of, there's a synergy between the two, right? Like, I kind of did the hotels and private equity thing to go get that school of hard knocks lessons in private equity and then bring that back into the development world. So that was kind of the whole plan, right? My whole plan in doing the hotels is, number one, hotels were a no-brainer buying opportunity, but also I could open up that book of private equity, learn how to raise private capital, put syndications together, turn around big commercial assets. Getting that exposure was crucial to me in my journey, just like getting that exposure to real estate development and property management, which was kind of my phase 1, was crucial, right? So I will say that definitely, I'm always going to come back to center and do one big thing. But it's also useful to go try different things, right? If you have one big thing that's stable, go try different things, because you might find an untapped passion or skill, or just go get exposure to something else. Like I always say, always be learning, right? If you take that student mentality and go chase experiences that are going to teach you things, as long as it doesn't take away too much from your mental bandwidth, like you mentioned. That's definitely can be an enriching experience and take you to the next
Yeah, I totally agree. I like calling it sampling the different methods of real estate. You're absolutely right. You gotta pick one and just get laser focused on it to be hugely successful. But sometimes you don't know exactly what's going to really, trigger that passion and something that you really fall into. In the 4 or 5 years that I've been in real estate, we've done land flipping, wholesaling, fix and flip, and burn into short-term rentals. We've become limited partners on syndications, and frankly, what I found out is that I still love them all. I've got oh yeah, I've got they've got they're like the blindest guy with shiny object syndrome, and frankly, just gotta pick one, maybe two, and I think you could call it diversification, and true, there's a spectrum between that risk and reward and diversification and that single effort. And this is what the risk is, that you gotta mitigate that single point of failure. When it comes to diversification, you're mitigating the risk, but you're also mitigating your ability to be as successful, or at least you're slowing that progress down, because you're just splitting your those single points of failure. Instead, what you're doing is just becoming an expert in at least a couple areas. They run in parallel. I think it's great. So what is the goal for you? What are you aiming towards?
Totally, Aaron. So, that's kind of like going back off of that last question about doing multiple things at once as well. So mine, like, no shit kind of someday goal is to build a high rise, right? A high rise mixed use building. And in order for me to do that, I have to go through a few chapters. I have to go through the real estate development chapter. I have to go through the private equity chapter, right? And then I have to go through the owner builder, building my own things for myself and investors, small things one by one, building that snowball eventually into a high rise. So that's kind of why I've taken this path of doing multiple things at once, because I know that I need the development piece. So that's definitely it. But I'm not going to be able to build a high rise with my own cash. So I need the private equity piece as well. So that's kind of why I took that chapter into private equity. So that's kind of, that's really the my personal goal would be to build a high rise mixed use building, but then kind of along the way as well as, impact, man. I really want to help other people do it with me. I really want to be able to give people exposure to investments that they traditionally wouldn't be able to invest in, things that have been traditionally reserved for the hedge funds, traditionally reserved for the wealthy. So two simultaneous goals: build my high rise, put my name on a big building, and then help others participate in the process and the profits in the process.
I think that's fantastic. And in fact, I love real estate for the fact that it's not just win-win, but it's win-win. When you do it right, it's a win-win-win-win-win. You either develop something or you fix something up that's old and needs repair, and you're improving a community, and you're providing housing or a travel location of some sort, shelter for travelers or residents, and providing commerce. There's private lenders and commercial lenders are making money from by you utilizing their money to build these things, and providing jobs. In every way you slice it, if you're doing it the right way, everybody wins. That's one of my favorite things about real estate. is that it's not, I win, you lose. How do you feel you're making an impact?
Yeah, definitely, man. Impact is huge because, as we know, you can make all the money in the world and still be miserable. But it's kind of finding what really fulfills you, And for me, man, I gotta say, like, it's really, really simple things. Like, for example, I had a squatter in a property that I purchased recently, and getting her out was not easy. So I'm the third owner on this property trying to get this squatter out. No one's able to. If anyone's familiar with California squatter laws, they're not very landlord friendly. They're very tenant friendly, right? But, I was able to go in there, figure out exactly what she needed, which was housing, a place to go, solve that need for her and get her out in less than 30 days of me acquiring the property, after people have been trying for a year. So, taking that approach of, everyone's just like, I don't care if this crackhead sleeps under a bridge, but it's like, hey, let me see if this human being needs anything. And because I know that I'm not going to be able to fulfill my goal and my need, which is having that unit vacant in a timely manner. I have to take the legal route, which is very arduous in California. If I can just figure out what this lady needs and give it to her and help her out in the process, sure. I would love to help you out in the process. And then the other way is just trying hard not to displace people, man. Every property that we buy, and that's kind of why I like hotels too, there's no displacement involved. I really don't like displacing tenants. We got to remember that as real estate investors, we are dealing with the human necessity, which is housing. Housing is a human necessity, and it has to be dealt with accordingly. And the people have to be treated accordingly. So that's kind of how a big part of my impact is, just being completely different when it comes to tenant-landlord relationship.
I was just thinking, our last acquisition, the tenant's problem was that they needed a new place to park their RV meth lab, and we just didn't have a good solution for them. So unfortunately, we still had to ask them to leave. Since we took, possession of the property, we did not want to take possession of the meth lab. But you've got a great point there. Is that you often strong arming somebody is never the right solution. It should be the last resort. So, sometimes they just need a little bit of help finding that solution. Maybe it's help moving. Maybe we just need to help them, get packed up. And we've done that before, where we just, had hired a truck and helped them pack their gear up. Sometimes it's just cash for keys, and you can avoid costly evictions by just offering a few bucks towards their next security deposit, at the next place they're going to live, and they don't have that eviction on their record. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a solutions-based type business. And another thing that strikes me is that the markets you're in, they're not easy markets to get into. Not only are you going big with a type of, like, the methodology for real estate investing, but you're going big just in the location. So, what do you attribute? What is it like in San Diego? How did you get into, or what was your philosophy there for starting in San Diego?
Totally, Aaron, and that's a really good point, man. And I to go back to that other question you asked me about what do I attribute to my success. This is it too, man. Is this mentality is, I found that a lot of people, like, going to meetups in San Diego, the big thing is investing out of state. Everyone and their mother wants to invest out of state in Florida, the Southeast, right? But what I found was that when you chase what's hard, right? Let's start with the simple definition of entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurs get paid for solving problems. So if you can solve a bigger problem, then you're going to get paid a lot more, right? And so, figuring out how to invest in a tough market with zero money, like I had when I started, is a bigger problem that's going to pay more than figuring out how to invest out of state in the Midwest, right? Not to say that it's bad to out of state in the Midwest, but and I have friends who do it and they make a lot of money, and they do really, really well. But for me, it was the satisfaction of, hey, I really want to do this real estate thing and I really want to do it in San Diego. And I don't want to do anything that's because it's easy. I want to do something because I want to do it and it's going to make me feel fulfilled. So that was number one is that's a big lesson that I learned is if I can find out how to solve what's hard, how to do what's hard, investing in San Diego, investing in California, the most tenant-friendly, tax-unfriendly state. And if I can learn how to make money there, then the sky's the limit. So that's kind of how I looked at it, and that's definitely helped me in the process.
Tax unfriendly, landlord unfriendly, builder unfriendly, business unfriendly, and
Yep.
that makes it a blue ocean, right, instead of red. Okay, so go big, or go home, and don't be afraid to do the hard things, right?
Absolutely, man. You nailed it.
Don't get scared by a difficult market. That means it scares off the some of the competition. So okay, let's back up a little bit. Let's say somebody was looking into getting into real estate. They want financial freedom. They're trying to get out of their W-2. Maybe they're looking to transition out of the military, and they were thinking maybe buying a single family, do a house hack or a burr or something. And you've sparked, you've broadened their horizons a little bit. They want to get into multifamily, maybe syndication, maybe into these hotels. How did you learn? I mean, you obviously you weren't afraid about to go big and do the hard things, but how did you make the jump from handyman, property management, to learning how to actually do this?
Sure, Aaron. So number one is believing, right? You have to believe that it's possible. And that's just so basic. And I hate to throw it in there, but it is very essential. Just believing that you can do whatever the fuck you want in your life. If you really want to do it, you can figure out a way and you can do literally anything is possible. But I would say that what helped me is I got exposure and took responsibility everywhere I go. When I was working for that developer, it wasn't like, hey, what can I do? It's like, hey, man, I'm going to take, so we have to submit these right-of-way permits to the city. I'm going to take care of that. So I would go figure that out, how to do it. I have no fucking idea, Hey, we got this big problem, we're doing this Class A work, which is in the street. We have to bring in new utilities to this parcel, and it's raining, and San Diego's not used to raining, and our trench has collapsed. Well, shit. I'm in my car. I'm going to go there. With the Class A contractor, we're going to figure this out. So getting in the trenches and developing what I call trench level knowledge, right? It's something that cannot be taught or bought. It has to be earned. It has to be as a result of experience. And getting that trench level knowledge is really what helped me out. And actually, I learned that in the military, Aaron. One of my first chief, he said, hey, Shah, you want to be successful as a postmate, here's what you got to do. You got to volunteer for everything that no one else wants to do. And you have to go out there and just do shit without anyone telling you. So those were the two things that I learned very basic in the military that have served me incredibly throughout my life, man, is doing shit that no one else wants to do and not being scared to get down there and get dirty, man. Just put your hands on it.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I still got my e-tool, my poncho. I'm ready to get dirty. But you weren't just a handyman and property manager. You were running. You were doing property management. You're doing this handyman work for a developer. So you were there actually doing the work and learning from it. You're providing a value. You're providing a service to somebody who could mentor you, right? And that's what a lot of people, I think, miss when they get into the Facebook groups, or they really start to learn, and they said, Okay, I declare I'm a real estate investor. Like Michael Scott, I'm declaring bankruptcy. Uh,
Yeah.
now I need, who wants to be my mentor? It's like saying, who wants to be my best friend? It doesn't work like that. You got,
No.
and the last thing somebody wants to hear is, let me pick your brain, let me buy you coffee and pick your brain. Yeah, and let me, what can I do for you? Sounds like something great, but then of course, you get a busy person, right? It's somebody who's already found success in entrepreneurship, business, real estate. They're got a busy life. They don't have the bandwidth to actually say, okay, let me think about some way to put you to use so that I can teach you how you're actually, it seems like you're providing value when offering even free services, but still you're taking their attention. So what you do need to do is roll up your sleeves, get in there and say, looks like you need help doing this. Let me provide that help. Let me take some of that weight off of your some off of your calendar, off of your desk. And while I'm at it, I'll just learn. Is that what how you think you got into it, how you started learning?
Yeah, Aaron, actually, it's crazy. I'm super passionate about this. I actually did a keynote on this at Dave Perry's event in Tampa of how the art of adding value, really. Figuring out how to add value. You really nailed it, man. Like, you can't just be like, can someone be my mentor? Like, yeah, sure, let me be your mentor. Like,
I'm not doing anything special right now. Sure.
And what you really have to do is you have to figure out. So you can people post all the time what they need on social media, things like you have to have something to offer. Like, figure out what is your advantage, and if you can, just go ahead and do it, right? Like an example that I give is like I was talking at the event, and there's a camera guy who was really interested in real estate, asking real estate questions. He was recording the event. He's like, hey man, how do I get started? And while I was speaking, I said, hey, and Andrew, the camera guy, he could go to Dave Parade, who was an incredibly successful real estate savant, right? And say, Dave, I love your Instagram page, but I think I can do your content 50 times better. Here's 10 reels that I went ahead and made for you, man. I don't want nothing in exchange. I just really appreciate you giving out this free value. So here's something that I did for you. If you like the content, man, feel free to post it. Let me know if you want some more. And if you don't, then please tell me how I can do better. You don't think that you get Dave's attention doing that, man, or Aaron Hale's attention doing, Aaron, here's 10 free pieces of content that I made for you. Or, hey, Aaron, I noticed that you're investing in this market, and I think I found a good deal, man. You wouldn't take a look at it? So figure out what you can do to solve a problem for somebody. And if you can, just go ahead and do it and just present it as a solution. Not like, hey, do you want me to do this for you? No, just do it, man. And don't expect anything in return, because at the end of the day, you're going to learn something, right? And that is the most invaluable thing that you can get out of anything. So take some time, do something nice for someone for the genuine want to do something nice to bring value to them, and don't expect anything in return. The best thing that you can get is exposure to their business, to their brain, and to their operations, and that'll be enough for you to do it on your own.
That's a recurring theme, I think, among real estate investors and business owners in general, is like the principles behind the go-giver. Right? Your success is directly proportionate to how much value you add into the system, and you should be adding more value into the system than you should expect back. And there's also the fact that there shouldn't be an immediate reciprocation. You shouldn't expect that, but you should be open to receive it. So, like you said, you shouldn't expect that immediate return. Give without expecting immediate payback. And I love that value exchange, not just offering to help out wherever, but you come bearing some kind of a skill, a value. Like, I've been developing this marketing channel that I think will work great for helping you raise more money, raise capital for your projects. Let me add this to your system. Let me show you how to do it. And in exchange, I'll just, I'll start learning how to do, the property management. I'll start learning how to do the syndication side, the operator side. And it's something like that. It works out perfectly. In fact, that's how the best partnerships are built, where, the different, people of varying characters and varying experience types come together, and they fill in the weaknesses of others with their strengths.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And finding that and creating that synergy, I think, is really what sets successful people apart. And also putting aside your ego. That's a big thing. If you've ever read Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, great book, but not being scared to just be like, hey, nothing is beneath me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get to my goals, and keep your eye on the big picture. The big picture for me, some days that, hey, dude, I'm going to be building in the high rise, so if I got to get down in the trenches today and serve people, and I will take that servant mentality and look at it as a tool that I could use to arrive at my goals, and not think about it like, oh, man, this shit is beneath me. I don't need to be talking tenants. I don't need to be fixing my own shit. I got to hire everything out. Like, no, dude, put your hands on everything once. Do it in a very, very humble way. Figure it out, and then hire it out, and stay humble the whole way. And don't be scared, and don't be scared to get dirty, and don't think like, hey, things are beneath. Nothing is beneath. We're at the end of the day, we're all human beings, man. We're all the same. So no one's better than anyone else.
So, what are some of your pain points right now? What's challenging you right now? Where could others help you fill in?
Sure. Yeah. So, a big pain point for us in hotels and development really is, any real estate guy is capital and deals. Luckily in hotels, we have just such an unlimited amount of deals that really we just need capital. So raising capital has definitely been a pain point that we're figuring out. Have done it semi-successfully. Like I mentioned earlier, we raised nearly $3.5 million in a little bit over a year. But that still hasn't seemed to be fast enough for our ambition. And then number two is branding. So that's something that I've really kind of looking to emulate from people like you, Aaron. I know you had Mike on this podcast, Dave Paré, guys who do that stuff well. I'm studying to figure out how I can get my personal brand where I need it to be.
As far as I know, when it comes to building a brand, and I don't know a whole lot, is that you just got to keep telling people what you're doing, what your values are, how what you're doing, and you got to be consistent. If you're gonna become, and this is more of a tactical thing when it comes to particular social media videos and whatever you're doing, if you're gonna choose to do it weekly, do it every single week. If you're gonna do it twice weekly or daily, don't miss an appointment. Right? Don't miss a post, because your audience and the almighty algorithm will be disappointed, and they'll let you know. Otherwise, the content itself, you just got to keep putting out there what you're doing. Let people know, and you'll start building a reputation around that. And of course, you start attracting exactly what you're looking for, so long as you keep telling people what it is you're looking for.
No, I really appreciate that, Aaron. And isn't that crazy, man? How like everything is so simple. Like no matter what you want to do with it, it's just a question of doing it and doing it consistently.
Exactly, man.
And that just goes to show like massive imperfect action is a lot better than inaction.
That's right. Concentrated, intentional action, but consistent. So,
yeah.
You mentioned bigger pockets. Are there any other forms of learning? What can other types of education, books, podcasts, platforms, other than just rolling up your sleeves and going, swinging a hammer and grabbing a plunger and learning, in the trenches? Is there anywhere somebody can study online?
Totally.
That you would
YouTube University, man. YouTube University. I would say that is the perfect starting place, right? Everything that you want is for free. You can just do how to wholesale homes, how to develop high-rise. It's all there on YouTube, and it's crazy. And then there's some very reputable people who do sell education programs. You want to make sure you do your diligence, and you want to make sure that you're purchasing a credible person's product, because unfortunately a lot of people, there is a lot of bullshit in that space. But a lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't invest in the mastermind, you need to go do this, that, and this. You got to just, like I did, put your foot in the trench and get dirty. Yeah, you should do that, but if you're a working professional, that might not be realistic for you. If you have kids, that might not be realistic for you. So it's no different than buying something on Amazon rather than going to the store to buy it, right? You're paying for convenience. You're paying for someone's concentrated knowledge that they've packaged into an education product. There's no shame in paying for courses if you find a reputable man. And then if that's not your zoosh, then just get on YouTube. But what I will say is, I started eating, sleeping, shitting, breathing real estate. Bigger pockets in the car, YouTube in the shower. Like, that's all. When I was getting started in 2019, like, it was my entire world was just real estate. I replaced everything that was going into my ears with nothing but real estate. Put yourself in education mode and get it from everywhere, paid, unpaid, what have you. And then secondly is get around the people. Go to your local meetups, find people who are actually doing what you're doing, and then figure out a way to add value with them. And then your education that you're doing yourself is going to help you, because you'll be able to talk the talk. You'll be able to learn more intimately what kind of things these people who are doing what you're doing need. So, two-part approach, education and then getting around people who are doing it.
Besides Shaw Towers, do you have a financial goal, or what does success look like for you?
I have actually put a lot of thought into this now, and I have to say that I'm so grateful, man, to God, to the universe, to everything in my life, that I am now officially in a seat today where I feel like if I, God forbid, if I die tomorrow, then I will have lived life how I needed to live life, man. And I'm financially free. I am free to choose what kind of business I do. I'm free to live where I live. I live in Colombia now. I do a lot of traveling. So this is really the life that I wanted. But if I would say like a big goal, obviously, the high rise. But secondly, my next phase is kind of figuring out how to do exactly what I'm doing, but just bigger. Just keep making it bigger. More people financially free. More people investing in our deals, getting passive returns. More people learning if they want to learn about what we're doing. So what I'm doing, but more. That's really kind of what's next for
me. And that reminds me of your high rise vision, dream. And also reminds me of one of mine is since I spent 4 years in Italy, I would love to bring the Italian version of a piazza to develop somewhere around here, where you've got this big open square. Maybe it's a green space, concert space, just a play area, maybe an ice rink in the winter, but all around it lines shops. And let's say you have a cafe, an ice cream shop, bread, a bakery, a wine store, a restaurant, maybe a small bar, small trattoria type of thing, a bigger, finer restaurant. But all of them, let's say your restaurant gets its ice cream and its coffee and its bread, all made right there inside the square. Or the little Enoteca ice cream, or the wine store, maybe it has 1 or 2 plates of food that you can enjoy, antipasti or whatever, that you can enjoy with a glass of wine that comes right from the restaurant. And then you can sample some of the wine at the wine store that is on the wine list at the restaurant. I mean, I think it's a great place for people to shop, congregate, and it's just one of those pipe dreams for me, or one of those would be great to develop one day, type of dreams. However, in the meantime, I'm going to keep building my portfolio. Maybe I'll get that Italian villa. What was it? The Italian job? It was a villa in Spain with a room for just my shoes and a butler.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. And you nailed it, Aaron. It's really, that's what real estate development is creating human experiences and art. It's actually funny, while you're talking about and describing your vision, it fires me up, man. Now, a lot of people don't get it, but like, for example, one of my friends recently just called, he was like, dude, you're basically short version is like, he said that I was being an egocentric, emotional, person, because basically I bought a property a little over a year ago, and I had the opportunity to sell it for about $250,000 profit.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do it because I designed 2 homes to build on that property myself,
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to see the vision through, and building it and then selling it, the profit's not going to be too much more. The correct investment decision would have been to go ahead and sell that property with permits. But, I have to say, man, and people call me an egomaniac or whatever, but I consider myself an artist, dude. Like, I really see my projects as art. All of them, every single one of them is art, is something that I am creating, and people are living in my art. And that is really just what fires me up, man. Like you describing, hey, the human experience that you want people having of recreating that Italian scene that you once lived, and wanting to share that with other people. That's really what real estate development is. And that's what I think business is. I think it's all art.
Well, besides designing these living spaces and working spaces, do you consider yourself an artist? Do you do other mediums? I mean, my family is very creative. My mom's side of the family, incredible artists, sketch, paint, all of that. My brother, I, of course, culinary. My art, creative side took me into the kitchen.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah, man. And by the way, dude, your fudge is incredible. That's the most delicious fudge I've tasted in my life. But well, besides that, I do enjoy cooking. I do like cooking. But in terms of what my art is, I think my art is, like, I call myself the house bender, man. Like, transforming home, turning just ordinary, boring houses into art, or ordinary, boring pieces of land or hotels into art, and I think the process itself is an art.
Yeah, so absolutely.
That's kind of what my artistic outlet is.
Well, it definitely takes creativity to envision, the finished product. I mean, we're working on a project right now. Like I told you about the recreational vehicle / business entity that was parked on one of our properties. We took this thing over and it had all the fun stuff: hoarders, squatters, drugs, guns, and a huge mess. Really nasty, like hazmat suit nasty. And it was 2 houses connected by a in-ground covered pool. So it's actually considered to be a duplex, but it's literally 2 houses. And a separate 5-car workshop garage. So that's where the squatters were, and it didn't have indoor plumbing. So we nicknamed the whole project Poop Bucket. But I tell you what, to envision the turnaround is so much fun. It was a huge cleanup. My wife is kicking butt as the project manager on this, and it's going to be, both houses will be individual Airbnbs, short-term rentals. We'll convert a portion of the 5-car garage into a 3rd unit. There's going to be an RV park like pad. So actually a fourth rental location for RV travelers, not business, not RV entrepreneurs. But so this thing is going to be an incredible turnaround, but it takes a lot of creativity. And my wife has got a terrific eye for what could be in these spaces. So I totally agree. And it's exciting to hear what you've got going on and what's coming around the bend. Is there anything that you think we missed that you'd like to cover, like to talk about? Anything you got coming up on the horizon, or anything else you want to talk about? Well, I got you.
No, man, that's really it. Just working hard and trying to help others in the process.
That's awesome. That's awesome. If somebody wanted to contact you, find out a little bit more about what you got going on, maybe they want to add value to your business, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, totally. So Instagram, probably the best way, at Housebender. Just Housebender, like Airbender, Avatar the Last Airbender, but Housebender. If you are a veteran, if you did serve in the armed forces and you're trying to get started in your business journey and you need help with anything, I got a deep passion for helping other veterans out. So shoot me a DM, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can. So yeah, Housebender on Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Adit. It's been great talking to you. I really love hearing what you've been up to. I'm excited to find out what comes up, and I can't wait to visit your high rise when you get that up.
Right on, man. Thank you so much for having me, Aaron. It was great catching up. Great talking.
All right. Take care.
You too, brother.